All right, welcome to the Explainer. So, generative AI, it's completely shaken up higher education, right? And it's kicked off this, well, obsession with catching cheaters. But is that really the right approach? Today, we're going to dig into a totally different way of thinking. What if academics stopped playing police and started, actually teaching with AI?
Okay, so I want you to picture this. You're a final year nursing student. You're juggling clinicals, you're trying to land a job, and then, bam, this subject line pops up in your email. Your heart just sinks, right?
And look, for one student, Madeline, this wasn't just a friendly question. This was a full-blown formal accusation. It was like this digital scarlet letter that just slammed the brakes on our entire future before it even had a chance to start.
6 months. For 6 whole months, Madeline's life was just stuck. Her transcript was stamped with results withheld, which meant she couldn't even apply for the jobs she'd been working toward for years. And yeah, in the end, she was cleared. But you can imagine the damage was already done.
And her story, believe it or not, is not unique. Not by a long shot. I mean, look at this. Nearly 6,000 cases at just one university, with 90% of them tied to AI. It points to this widespread panic, what some are even calling a digital witch hunt. The very system meant to protect academic integrity is now hurting students.
Okay, so let's get into this, because this laser focused on catching students has built this frankly broken and adversarial system. It's become this unwinnable arms race.
I mean, check this out. It's AI detecting AI. That's what one paramedic student said after he was wrongly accused. And he just nailed the absurdity of it all. Think about it. He's caught in this bizarre loop where one AI is flagging him, and his entire career is just hanging by a thread.
And this is what that looks like in practice. The university's software lit up his essay, claiming 84% of it was AI generated. The only problem, it was completely, totally wrong. You can just see it, his whole paper basically highlighted as fraudulent by some algorithm.
So in this system, you're basically guilty until proven innocent. The burden of proof is completely on the student. And to prove you're innocent, get ready for this incredibly invasive process. First, you get the accusation. Then, they demand your handwritten notes. Then, your typed notes. Then, get this, your entire internet search history. And after all that, you just wait for months. It feels way more like a police interrogation than anything academic, right?
But here is the absolute kicker. The company that makes the software, Turnitin, literally warns institutions not to use its AI detector as the only reason for action. So these universities are using a flawed tool against the manufacturer's own advice. It's just created this really hostile, you can't trust anyone relationship with their own students.
Okay, so this whole thing feels like a total dead end, doesn't it? But what if this entire approach, this obsession with detecting and punishing, is just asking the wrong question altogether?
This quote from Professor Danny Liu it reframes the entire debate. Academics are teachers, not police. And yet, the focus has always been control, restrict, detect. The whole idea here is that the goal shouldn't be about control and restriction. It should be about, well, education and development. I mean, what if an educator's job isn't to be a cop, but to be a guide?
So what does that actually look like? How do you teach with AI instead of just fighting this losing battle against it? Well, it means you have to change the rules of the game completely.
Yeah, the answer isn't a better detection tool. It's better assignments. Instead of giving assignments that an AI can knock out in seconds, you design tasks that really test uniquely human skills. You could have students critique an AI's output, or use AI as a brainstorming tool and document how they did it. Or you could shift to more hands-on projects, oral defenses, presentations, things that show you actually understand the material, not just that you can generate text.
And what this all comes down to is teaching a really critical distinction. On one hand, you've got intellectual dishonesty. That's just claiming someone else's work or an AI's work as your own. That's cheating. But on the other hand, you have tool use, right? Using resources, whether it's a calculator, Google, or an AI, to help you articulate your own ideas effectively. The whole point is teaching students how to tell the difference.
And this is why that skill is so important. As one researcher put it, AI can produce some pretty authoritative-sounding gibberish. And that right there perfectly illustrates why students absolutely have to learn how to critically evaluate what an AI spits out. You have to teach them to question it, to verify it, not just to copy and paste. That is a crucial skill for the 21st century.
Of course, this new playbook, it requires a pretty big shift from the faculty. It really is about moving away from being a police officer and becoming more of a mentor. Being transparent about your policies, actually teaching students how to use these things ethically, and, this is a big one, creating a space where students feel safe to ask questions, maybe like an AI help desk, without being afraid they'll be accused of cheating.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, what's the real takeaway here? Because this challenge from AI, it's not really about cheating at all, is it? It's forcing us to take a hard look at the whole point of education in the first place. I mean, for years, we've been trying to jam a 19th century way of assessing students, the classic essay, onto these brand new 21st century tools. The real assignment here isn't for the students, it's for the educators. It's about updating our methods. So we need to stop asking, how do we detect AI, and start asking, how do we teach with it effectively?
And this is where the real disconnect lies. If you ban these tools or you just focus on catching students using them, you're not preparing them for the real world. I mean, out there, in the professional world, these tools are everywhere. Knowing how to use them is fast becoming a must-have skill.
And that really brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. What if this rise of AI isn't an academic integrity crisis at all? What if it's actually an amazing opportunity? A chance to finally refocus education on what's always been the real goal. Not just writing an essay, but learning how to think. Learning how to think critically, creatively, and ethically in a world that is changing faster than ever.